Alright, so the first lesson, I want to talk about melodies and show you how to make them. But I really want to start with the basics, so I want to show you what a scale is, what a chord is, what a chord progression is, how to make dark melodies, how to make more melodic melodies, and even how to make counter melodies. So I really just want to show you my whole process, explain everything as much as possible. And yeah, I know there's going to be some people that already know what scales and chord progressions are, but I feel like these are important things. You don't 100% need to understand music theory, because you will get to a certain point where you've trained your ear enough to know just what sounds good. But these are things that really helped me when I was getting started. As soon as I took a few piano lessons and started to understand what a scale is, what a chord progression is, what a chord is, like, I feel like my production level just stepped up like instantly. So these are things that I really want to show you. So for anyone that doesn't know what a scale is, how a keyboard works, what all the notes mean, it looks a bit confusing. So you might look at a piano and see there's like 66 keys or 88 keys, and you think that there's all these different notes, but really it's only broken down into 7 notes. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if we start in the middle with C, I'm only going to use the white notes. And you can see on the screen there I'm pressing C, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes before it goes back to C again. And then the notes in between, these are called sharp or flat notes, depending on what scale we're working in, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But really you need to understand that there's only really 7 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then it goes back to C. So the numbers that you're seeing on the screen, for example, C5, once you get up to the next C would be C6. And that's what's called an octave. So an octave is everything from C5 to C6. And then you've got C6 to C7 and so on. So it's all the exact same notes, it's just being played higher up in the keyboard. So that's really the basics of how a piano works, how a keyboard works. But I want to show you what a scale is. So when you hear people mention a scale, what they really mean is a group of notes that sound good together. So I'm going to go through some of the scales in a little bit, but that's all that it means. It's just something that we as humans have decided sounds good together. For example, the notes that I just played then, C to C, all I used were the white notes, right? And that's the easiest scale to remember because you don't need to worry about the sharp or flats. And that scale is actually C major, just going C to C. And if you look closely, there's a certain pattern which a major scale is played in. And before I get into the pattern, what you also need to understand is a step and a half step, also known as a tone or a semitone. And all that is let's say we're on C. A half step is just one note up or one note down. So C sharp or B, right? If you look at the screen, it's just going up like one note. And then a tone or a full step is going up 2. So 1, 2. So C to D, D to E. And then when you get to here, there's no block note in between. So it's still going up 1, which means it's still a half step. If I was going to go up a full tone or a step, I'd be going from E to F sharp. Simple as that, right? Now, the pattern for any major scale, whether you're starting on C, G, A, F, E, F sharp, like anything, the pattern is this. It goes tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. I'll click that in so you can see. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. The only difference with a minor scale is this. So I'm going to start on C, and here's the pattern. It goes tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. I'll draw that out. Tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, and then back to C, tone. The reason it's important to remember that pattern is because, let's say for example, you're working with a sample or some kind of melody that's made in, let's just go with F minor. So rather than you remembering all of the notes, all of the names of the notes in F minor, you could just work out the pattern. So for example, we're starting on F, you're gonna go tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. Simple as that. So if I highlight all of these notes, I could bring this down anywhere. So we're in F minor now. If I bring this down to D, that means we're in D minor. It's the exact same pattern. C sharp, we're in C sharp minor. Now this is where it might be a little bit tricky to understand, but you don't need to worry too much about it. So right here you can see we've got C, D, and then it says D sharp. This is how it works in FL Studio. It might be different in other DAWs, but Yeah, it says D sharp, but really it's an E flat. So when you're in a scale, you essentially need to use all of the notes, all of the 7 notes that I mentioned. So remember C, D, E, F, G, A, B. But the only thing to remember when you're changing the scale is some of the notes might be sharp or flat. So for example, in C minor, we've already used C, we've already used D, but we need to use this note here. So because we've used D, we'd actually say E flat. And then we go to F, G, then we've got this note here. We've already used a G, so we'd say A flat. Same again with this note. We've already used A because we had A flat, so we'd say B note. You don't 100% need to know that, but I thought I'd just tell you. It's kind of like using grammar in music theory. Now in FL, you can see that I've got notes highlighted. All I've got highlighted are the black keys, but I've showed you the pattern, so let me just prove to you that it's right. So if I go to view, scale highlighting, I've just got black notes highlighted. I'm going to go to minor natural, and let me double check that we're on C, which we should be. So we're on C, minor natural. Minor natural is like the most common Western scale to use, especially for drill. You can use things like minor harmonic or minor melodic, but that's something to experiment with. But for now, I'd recommend just really getting your head around what a minor scale is and what a major scale is. The easy way to look at it is minor scales tend to be sad sounding, major scales tend to be happy. So obviously if you're making dark drill beats, you're not going to jump for a major scale. But maybe if you're making something melodic and you want it to be quite happy, then you know that can happen in drill these days.